You mentioned that, when you got started in kind of the content creation, this NFL space, when did you decide to do that? And what inspired you to start doing that?
Yeah. Okay, so it started in towards the end of my playing career, if you like. So maybe like year 9 of playing. Myself and about 7 of us on the same team now. This is at Kent. So basically, we'd finish playing, we'd go into the locker room, and we'd start having these debates about what happened during the game. Official didn't call this. How was that not a touchdown? We need like VAR, which is VAR is essentially like camera with booth review sort of thing. And it was basically we said to ourselves, no one in the UK is talking about the level of football in the UK in terms of how good it is or how bad it is, and what's basically locker room talk, right? So one of them was like, why don't we actually start putting this out there, set up a podcast and put it out there? So we was like, yeah, you know what? We're doing it right now. We're talking about the game. Let's just record it and get it out there. So basically we started a podcast called the X's and O's podcast, which I headed up in terms of social media. So I was it's on my there's a link to it on my Instagram. So we covered UK American football. We did that for like 4 years. So we would do a podcast in the studio. We'd get like the biggest guests on from the UK who have played, like there's a lot of OGs in the UK who played in the States when it was a lot easier. So when we're talking about selling out stadiums and having the London Monarchs, so we'd bring them onto the show. We'd talk about the game then, the game now, and we'd bring on current guys as well and talk about the state of the game, just to raise the exposure. So we started doing that. We did that for 4 years, and whilst we were doing that, we basically created a relationship with NFL UK because they could see that we were trying to help expose the game over here, which is what they want to do. They're just trying to grow the game over here as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So we basically had a working relationship with them. They'd give us access to certain events and stuff. And as you can tell, I'm quite an outgoing guy. I'll speak to anybody. So I became that guy where I'd be networking and making contacts and connects and so on and so forth. But it got to a point where I was like, I really want to do NFL. And I just wanted to do more because I knew what I'm capable of. And I was like, I'm not necessarily going to get it from this group. And truth be told, a lot of them weren't too interested in progressing forward. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to do this thing on my own. So I basically like jumped out and left. We're still boys. We still chat. And then I was like, I started getting invitations to go to a particular event. So I don't know if you've heard of the NFL International Combine.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so we had that over here, I think 3 years straight, and that was one of the first events I went to that I was invited to go to on my own. And I found myself at the Tottenham Stadium, and I was chatting to guys like OC and Manura, Jason Bell, and all the other people there. And I was like, you know what? This is what I wanted. This is what I've wanted to be doing. I've wanted to, I'm out here, I'm making my own connects, I'm building relationships. And I was like, normally I go to an event or we go have X's and O's and I'll post it on our page. But the stuff that I was doing at that point was stuff that was all connected to me. And I was like, I can't really post that on the page because it's kind of like, it's me, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
So I got back home and I was like, at the time I was umming and ahhing about leaving because we had loads of disagreements for different reasons and it was getting a bit bitter. And I said to my wife, she was like, you know what, you just need to do your own thing because I knew what I wanted to do. She could see what I wanted to do. And it was always happening without me saying anything. So I was like, you know what, I'm done. And she was like, all right, this is you now. It's GeorgeOnSports. She come up with the name. So shout out to my wife. She came up with the name. And I was like, you know what, this is it. So I just set up an Insta and I started posting things. And what I did was I used the relationships I had made in the prior 4 years to help me get to where I wanted to get to. One thing I wanted to do was podcasting, just like we're doing right now. So I'm very much a guy where if someone says no, I'm just going to knock on the next door. Like, it's not the end of the world, right? So I basically was hitting up people left, right, and center. If you want to come on the show, this is what I do, etc., etc. And I used the first guest to leapfrog to the next guest to the point where I was able to get people like Dean Blondino, Stacey Dales, Laura Oakman, Justin Jefferson. Like it's been
big
crazy.
Names.
Yeah, it's decent, man. I never really had a target in terms of what I was doing, but I was just rolling with the punches. So I've started to do more things now. At that time, I'm doing a podcast. I'm doing small bits of content creation, like I'm making little edits for game days and like pictures on a website called Canva. I don't know if you heard of Canva.
Yeah, of course. That's what I use.
Yeah, there you go. I was using Canva, and then basically it kind of just grew because with X's and O's, when we filmed, we'd go to like when the teams come over here for the London games, we'd go to their practice days, the media days, and I'd be the one asking questions. I'd be the one getting footage. So then I'd come back home, get on my Mac, and use iMovie to edit up, chop it up, and then post it. So I was like, okay, let me up it a little bit. So I invested in Final Cut Pro, which is like a one up from iMovie, and I started, bought a bit more equipment. use some of the equipment I already had, and just thought, let me try and take it up a notch. And slowly, my stuff kind of evolved. So I don't make like game day edits anymore. Now I'm in a space where I'm doing interviews with like directors and stuff. I say directors, like for example, the Vikings are one of the UK home teams. So we've got 6 teams who've been allocated a UK marketing slot. So the Vikings, the Jags, the Bears, the 49ers, the Jets, and the Miami Dolphins all have UK marketing rights. So now I'm at the point where Alexander Mattison came over last year. They're hitting me up like, "Do you want to come and do an interview?"
Oh, that's dope. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
so it's just got to that point where I'm seen as one of the like I don't know one of the content creators of NFL in the UK or maybe even Europe. So I'm kind of like first port of call, which I love. I
Hmm.
mean, it was never the plan. I just wanted to do my own thing and see how far I could go. So I've just got to the point now where I'm mixing in different circles. I'm going to every London game as media, as press, which is amazing for me. I'm going to the games in Germany, which is also amazing. And then you mentioned about the games this year. We got 3 in London, 1 in Germany again, and 1 in Brazil, which I would definitely be going to.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's right.
yeah, which again for you guys isn't too much of a difference in terms of the time zone, right?
I think they're like an hour past East
Oh,
Coast
that's
time.
dope.
So yeah, something
Yeah,
like that. Not
so
bad
it's
at
going to
all.
be me
Yeah.
that's suffering this time. Um, but yeah, man, honestly, it's grown and transformed. Like when I started, I look back. If I look back on my page and look at what I was doing back then, I would. If someone had said to me, right, you're going to have an interview with Alexander Mattison. You're going to have an interview with I think her name's Keisha Wyatt. She's the director of international marketing for the Vikings, and you're going to have a great. And from that, they then booked me to do different jobs here in the UK, or you're going to go to an event with Chase Claypool when he's with the Bears at Tottenham Stadium, or I mean, all these things that have just been happening. I would never in a million of years have imagined that was going to happen, but I've just
Hmm.
continued to build on what I've done, and it's just taking me to all these places that I really can't complain. I'm going to the Super Bowl for God's sake, like bro. I
Oh
mean,
wow. Yeah,
yeah,
I
I'm
definitely want to. We'll definitely talk about that. But I do have a question for you. I mean, obviously, you're good at what you do. You've gotten better over the years. There's the skills that you have. You're a very personable guy, very outgoing. But I think there's like a level of authenticity that I think that is very apparent with you. That you played the game for a long time for the love of the
mm,
game because you care. It's not about the paycheck or anything like that. You
hmm
truly love the game, and of course, that's going to translate to your content creation and your
hmm
fanhood and all that stuff. So I think that's like you can fake all the other stuff. You can have incredible production value,
yeah,
the best special effect, whatever you want to call it. But
yeah,
if the authenticity is not there, if the real love for the game's not there, then none of that stuff matters. And it's
one hundred
obvious that
percent.
you have that.